Ancient India mastered science when Europe still feared eclipses and omens. Sanskrit texts described surgery, astronomy, and mathematics centuries before Galileo. Indian philosophers explored consciousness long before Freud or neuroscience existed. So why did the world forget or ignore these discoveries? This is the story of brilliance buried and the comeback unfolding now. India's golden age began with the Vedic era over 3,000 years ago. Texts like the Rig Veda explored cosmology, sound, time, and medicine. Vedic scholars classified stars, mapped seasons, and defined lunar calendars. City-states like Takshashila and Nalanda became ancient knowledge hubs. Students came from Greece, China, Persia to study in Indian universities. Subjects included mathematics, logic, grammar, medicine, and metaphysics. Teachers used discussion, observation, and experimentation, not dogma. Ayurveda texts detailed surgery, anatomy, and disease classification. Indian mathematics developed zero, decimals, algebra, centuries before Europe. This was a civilization driven by inquiry, not conquest or gold. India wasn't just spiritual, it was scientific, logical, and precise.
Aryabhata calculated Earth's rotation and the value of pi accurately. He proposed Earth spins on its axis, centuries before Galileo. Aryabhata's equations explained lunar eclipses without using mythology. Brahmagupta formalized the rules of zero and negative numbers. He treated zero as a number, not just a placeholder. Indian scholars used base 10 long before it reached Europe. Trigonometry, algebra, and quadratic equations flourished in ancient India. Texts like the Siddhanta showed precise astronomical calculations and models. Indian calendars tracked celestial movements with mathematical precision. Their ideas later influenced Islamic, Chinese, and European astronomy. Zero wasn't India's only gift, it was just the beginning. Sushruta performed complex surgeries over 2,500 years ago in India. He authored the Sushruta Samhita, a groundbreaking surgical manual. The text described 300 surgical procedures and detailed anatomy charts. Sushruta pioneered techniques like rhinoplasty and cataract extraction. His tools included scalpels, forceps, and even bone saws. He emphasized cleanliness, patient consent, and post-surgery care. Indian doctors used plant-based anesthesia during surgical procedures. They observed anatomy through dissection, not just religious texts. Ayurveda combined physical, mental, and spiritual healing traditions. It organized diseases by symptoms, root causes, and life balance. Pulse reading and herbal medicine were integral diagnostic methods. Medical education required years of study and ethical training. Indian medicine later influenced Greek, Roman, and Islamic texts. This legacy proves ancient India was far ahead in healthcare. Long before modern psychology, India studied the nature of mind. Vedanta asked, who are we beneath thoughts and emotions? It explored consciousness, self-awareness, and layers of perception. Yoga wasn't just physical, it was a science of attention. The Yoga Sutras described mental patterns and how to quiet them. They mapped consciousness through meditation, breath, and detachment. Buddhist thinkers developed logic systems to examine thought itself. Nagarjuna questioned assumptions to uncover deeper truths. Debate and inquiry were central to Indian intellectual traditions. Mind, language, and reality were studied as interwoven systems. Indian philosophy asked how beliefs shape experience and behavior. Cognitive science today echoes many of these ancient insights. From attention to awareness, India mapped the mind's terrain. It wasn't religion, it was deep psychological investigation.
If ancient India was so advanced, why didn't the world know? Colonial powers dismissed Indian science as superstition or myth. Texts were burned, stolen, or locked away in foreign archives. Indians were taught their culture was backward and unscientific. British policies undermined local schools and native knowledge systems. Indian achievements were ignored in global scientific narratives. Why? A confident, educated India threatened colonial control. Science wasn't just knowledge, it was cultural power. Colonizers needed to erase pride to justify their dominance. So Indian genius was rewritten, hidden, or claimed by others. Many discoveries were rebranded as Western after colonization began. Entire generations grew up disconnected from their intellectual heritage. What was lost wasn't just knowledge, it was confidence. But now, India is reclaiming what was always its own.
For decades, India's ancient knowledge lay forgotten and ignored. But now, scholars and scientists are looking back with pride. Institutions are revisiting Sanskrit texts with modern translation tools. Universities are reintroducing Vedic math and classical logic systems. Ayurveda is being researched alongside modern biomedicine today. Yoga has become a global practice rooted in Indian tradition. Indian philosophers are redefining ethics and consciousness studies. Young Indians are asking, what else did we forget? Startups are blending ancient wisdom with cutting-edge technologies. From climate solutions to wellness, tradition meets innovation here. India isn't returning to the past, it's reactivating it. Old ideas are fueling new conversations in science and society. Reclaiming knowledge is reclaiming identity, pride, and purpose. The world is finally listening to India. Again.
Ancient India's genius now shapes a confident, rising modern India. Science and spirituality no longer stand in opposition here. Engineers quote the Gita, yogis understand neuroscience. Cultural diplomacy now includes Ayurveda, yoga, and Sanskrit wisdom. Indian soft power spreads through ideas, not just entertainment. From Bali to Boston, people follow Indian philosophies with respect. Young Indians blend AI with Vedic algorithms and ancient logic. Ancient India isn't just history, it's a global conversation starter. School kids learn Zero's origins and where it can lead. The Indian mind is now a global asset, not just heritage. Ancient vision fuels innovation with purpose and clarity. India's past lights the way to its technological future. Pride in knowledge creates power and responsibility to share it. India's wisdom is no longer lost. It's leading the world forward. History isn't just written by victors. It's rewritten by visionaries. India's ancient knowledge was buried, but never broken or lost. It's time the world heard the other side of the story. TechSutra brings forgotten wisdom back into the global spotlight. Subscribe if you believe truth deserves more than one author. This is TechSutra, where India's past meets the world's future.